We are live with another Cafe Crash. I am your host, Daniel Crozier. And I got my coffee, and I am joined by the amazing Marcos Garibay.
Yes,
How are you,
nailed
sir?
it. That's the last name. I'm very good. Very good. Very happy today. Good energy.
Good.
Happy to be here.
I love your apartment. It's like a tropical hangout. I love it. You got a little Pokemon right next to you.
Yeah. Yep. Eevee, little my Pokemon pet.
Awesome.
It's kind of an alternate reality I created here, independent of the world. So it's
Sweet.
been a pretty nice place to be quarantined.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. How is quarantine going with you and your spirit animal?
You know, it's I really enjoy it. I'm doing all the things I want to do, and I'm in a place that in itself is kind of its own ongoing piece of art. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of a cycle of creation. And I think even if the pandemic wasn't a thing, this is exactly what I would be, where I'd want to be and what I would like to be doing with my time. So I'm one of the lucky people that can actually say that this has kind of worked out well in terms of career stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
As tough as it is for so many people, like for artists, it's to some extent, obviously not this long, but being an introvert and really diving into your projects and stuff, it really does allow that time.
Oh, it's the greatest gift.
Yeah.
It just seemed really. I mean, prior to the pandemic, there were a lot of aspects of my life where things were conflicting, and the time and mental space to create the things I wanted to make just didn't exist, and it seemed more and more out of reach. So it was kind of a nice refresher to approach things without those pressures that had existed, previously.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
The Marcos, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
How where how you grew up and how you got into filmmaking and more and just as importantly too, like how you started the nonprofit. Was it the Tomorrow Makers Studio, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. Good question. I'm trying to think of the best way to start. I did like I did this kind of guest speaker thing at a class last year at the beginning of the school year. And I had to write like a 1 or 2 page career bio.
Nice.
And I had to just stop writing in paragraphs because I could only put bullet points in order to fit everything, because it was just, nonsense. Like if you read it, you think it was like 7 people's careers that weren't related in any way. So I'm fortunate that I have a lot of really cool experiences, and that's all just a result of chasing, the dream or the feeling of, whatever makes you happy. So I guess the best place to start would be Durango. I was born in Springs, ended up in Durango, Pueblo for 10 years, Denver for 11. Yikes. And so going back to Durango, my mom started a Mexican folklorico dance group. So yeah, so right away we didn't really have a choice but to be in the arts, so we performed like the traditional Mexican stuff. We did salsa, zoot swing was my kind of thing. Little bit of everything.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a really,
that's cool.
I was really lucky to grow up that way, because we had a lot of opportunities that I think most people, especially in Durango, weren't allowed to have. So from there, we ended up in Pueblo. In high school, my brother and I kind of we left the dancing behind and started to really get into music, and this went from we like this song, we like the singer, and then we started to like recognize producers we liked, and then we went from DJing high school parties to being like, well, let's make the music. So then we started a production company, music production company out of high school, Blackout. And we'd been writing, producing, making our own music for close to 10, 11 years.
Wow.
And that's what led us to Denver. We just kind of hit this creative ceiling in Pueblo, so we came to Denver. We ended up opening a couple studios, in what's now Rhino. That's a whole other topic. And
Right.
and we ended up being in a position where we had to pay a pretty high overhead in order to do our own music. So we were doing a lot of like hourly recording sessions and just a lot of gigs that we didn't necessarily, our heart wasn't really in those, but we had to keep the lights on. And so in addition to those gigs, we'd have other 9-to-5s going, and we got to a point where the studio was closing. It was just not something that we were enjoying anymore. It was more stress, and we just wanted to make our own music. So we did the home studio. And in the, and I really didn't put much thought into it, but I took a job at an elementary school as a para. I started as a para in special ed, and at this point in my life, I'm like, I don't really like kids. I don't think I vibe with kids. This is just something till I find something better. We'll see how long I last. And it ended up being the opposite. I was like, well, I'm actually really good with the kids. It's fun. I'm enjoying this. I found myself volunteering and doing, after school clubs like dance and stuff.
Cool.
And and right around this time, I had an album that had come out, and I like put my heart into it. It was at least 2.5, 3 years of production on this record, and it just wasn't really received the way that I wanted it to. And I think I was just creatively and emotionally burnt out. So I didn't really have it in me to keep doing music. But I think when just not creating it was a real identity crisis. I was like, what am I without making something? And I didn't really have a medium. There were other things I would kind of dabble in, like I would sketch, and I would write little scripts, but nothing serious. So as a distraction till I guess found my music mojo again, I started a after school film program. And this was just to kind of make a few extra bucks, and then do something to kind of creatively keep me busy until I can find the next thing. And that ended up being the next thing. So it's that 3-week project ended up turning into what are we on, year 6 now? It was 2015. So I haven't stopped since then. And
that's awesome. So that rolled over and became Tomorrow Makers Studios, or that was
right
from the get-go.
Yeah, we were loosely, I guess in the beginning, the first year when it was an after school program, from the elementary school I had worked at in Commerce City, that's probably when we were the most of I guess you can say school sanctioned program. The district had kind of flirted with funding us and dangled the carrot in front of us for a few years, and we just got to the point where that energy was better spent raising our own funds and kind of calling our own shot. So we've been this rogue organization more than we've been like a sanctioned district group. And it's I guess the funniest thing to me is the role reversal. I was kind of the adolescent that didn't really know what he was doing and was part of this artistic family growing up, and I know I gave my mom a hard time, probably more than any of the other dancers, and now I'm that person dealing with the same group of kids, the most unstable age group to do long-term projects with, and now I'm like, I get it.
We always turn into our parents, don't we?
Oh, totally. Yes.
As much as we fight it.
Yeah, I even have my dad's head shake that.
I notice I have a lot of my dad's mannerisms, and my mom's willingness to just meet everybody. That's awesome though. It sounds like your family really prepared you for a life with in creativity, in the arts and everything. and the fact that you're so versatile, going from dance to music to sketching, and that, how did you get into the filmmaking aspect? That sounds like that came about, you know, a lot later.
Yeah, it's really, even thinking back, I'm like, it's crazy how I just dove into it without really like expecting any kind of a result. I you know, when
Oh,
oh, sorry, I was like, I thought my computer was shutting down. I was
oh
like,
no!
no.
Did we freeze? Did we freeze?
Yeah, no, I think I'm good.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
you're still good over here. You're
Okay.
supposed to be that color of magenta, right? No.
Yeah. Um, sorry, the question was, how did we get into film? All right,
Yeah.
so we you know, as a independent artist, my brother Armando and I often had to, you know, create our own music videos because we never had a
Oh,
budget to hire someone. So I mean, Photoshop,
yeah.
video editing, all of these things you just kind of have to pick up because,
Right.
you know, that money could be another keyboard, or it could be, you know, this other thing that you desperately need. So a lot of it was, you know, just picking up skills out of necessity.
Right.
So video editing was one that I learned early on, and it's just a fun process. It wasn't necessarily a storytelling thing, but it was just a way of creating a different interpretation of something that I'm already connected to. So
Mhm.
that's kind of how I look at filmmaking. And I think the thing that made me feel confident in approaching the film process was just this obsession that my brother and I have with Marvel and X-Men in particular, the
Right.
films. You know, so we have like these really close to the process sources on like Twitter and different internet sources we're like really connected to. So I mean, daily we're like, did you hear about the production assistant? He got fired. They replaced him with this guy, and you know, we're like, guess who was spotted on set today with so and so's girlfriend? I think she's going to be cast. So we're like obsessive. So by being like this for years, we kind of learn the process. You know, we're like, all right, so they're casting, they're doing some pre-production location scouting, and I just, you know, so we're like, we know how much time you know, we can know where you're at if you just give us an amount of time into the process. So
Yeah.
judging by that, I was like, well, I guess I could on a smaller level do something similar, you know.
Yeah.
And the only difference is that when you have I think our original group was 30 kids, fifth
Ooh,
graders. Very
gee.
hard. Yeah, very hard. Like
That's like
I don't know
two
how we even got.
classrooms.
Yeah, it's bananas. But we got something done. We made this our first film. It was like a 2 hour film. It's pretty hard to watch now,
Yeah.
but I mean, you have to start somewhere. But I think
Right.
we all fell in love with the process so much that we went through a day after the film came out that we were just like sad. We were just so sad because it was over. We were like, well, you know, we just kind of had this meeting at lunch afterwards, and it was just quiet, and then out of nowhere everybody was like, can we keep going, let's make a sequel, we got to do another one. And I was like, yes, I'm in, let's do it, let's make them
That's
forever.
awesome. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Yeah. So I'm going to throw up some images here that you sent me. Is this,
uh,
yeah, you're you know, one of the earlier groups that you met with?
um it's funny, the person in the back looks like she's part of it, but she's actually not, standing. I just noticed her now.
Oh yeah.
So all of us sitting down, that's a really special group to me. I call them the five. And what makes these guys really special is that they're um it's a combination of the oldest and most dedicated members. So we had a film that we had worked on for about 2 years, and you know, 1 year of production, another year of actual filming. And you know, this is all out of pocket. This is all
Yeah.
in between school and weekend, and I would Lyft drive on nights and weekends to fund it. So it was just an exhausting 2 years towards the end of this thing. And once we were, I'd say about 90% done,
Mhm.
we had about four or five kids just kind of walk away from the project. And when you film something on that scale, you have to do the scenes out of order just to
Right.
accommodate schedules, weather, you know,
Right.
location availability. So it was impossible to complete the film. So it was devastating. You know, we had lost this thing that we put our hearts and souls into. And so that group of kids met with me, you know, after we realized the movie was not going to happen. And they're the ones that kind of convinced me to keep going. So we had rebuilt the Tomorrow Makers with that group as the core. With
Nice.
one of them, great, just amazing kids. And the one on the, I believe, bottom right, she's actually the only original Tomorrow Maker we have. Her name is Saida. So she's, bottom right. She's our OG for sure. So it means a lot that she's a part of that group too.
Well, man, that's cool. And initially, what's the mission statement with Tomorrow Makers Studios? You seem to be really a lot of community outreach, a lot of after school activities and stuff.
So it's the goal is pretty simple in terms of what I want to provide, you know, to the kids. It's basically, we want to give them a way to grow and express themselves artistically in mediums that they wouldn't necessarily be able to use if they were on their own.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the best way I can say that.
Man, that's cool. And the you know, for the last 5 or 6 years, you've had this rotation, or has it been pretty steady? The same group of kids?
It's
because kids, strange things, they grow up.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out a way to stop that, but
yeah, a lot of sugar. That's what my mom did. Stop drinking milk. You know, kind of break a leg early enough so that, you know, you get stunted.
Yeah. See if I can work on that. It's really weird. We have a pretty stable group, and then once they hit 8th grade, something happens. Like, it's just biological, I guess, you know, and that's kind of when it either determines that the student is completely committed and down for life, or then we have to start going back to like 5th or 6th to start the, you know, recruitment process. Something about that age is just really difficult to navigate, I guess, when it comes to this kind of work. So that's about the age when we kind of see where it's going. And and it's been really difficult because we lost a whole year, you know, with COVID.
Right.
So now, you know, I had kids that just joined, you know, in 6th grade that grew up watching us film as they were little kids, you know, and now they're going to be in 8th grade this coming school year. So it's,
that's,
so who knows?
That is tough. Yeah. Let me throw up some more. You've got, I mean, yeah, it's wonderful seeing, you know, these group of kids learning that creative, you know, process, you know, film production and everything like that. And, you know, so many kids nowadays, you know, grow up with so much of this very accessible. Are these behind the scenes shots of? What was the name of the film that you guys were working on?
So the film we were working on was the Tomorrow Makers Volume 1.
Okay.
And that's kind of like our original story that kind of sets up the world and the conflicts and introduces our main characters. So that story ended up being turned into our comic book. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, so we're still going to continue it. We think we have a way to salvage some of the scenes, maybe do like a QR code, you know, when you get to it in the comic, you can watch like a finished scene if it's been completed. And then the sequel to that will be a film. So we're still going to continue that story, just kind of switching different mediums for different chapters.
That's cool. Yeah, you've got an amazing amount of you know, projects you're working on. Is it Eliana?
Eliana, yeah.
It's like a sci-fi western. I think it's. Yeah, I think we've got some stills. Is it? I think this is
actually right? The one that's from the original movie, but the one that you
cool.
showed right before that was a costume test for it. Yeah, that's a costume test we were working on.
Nice. I definitely get that Boba Fett, you know, type vibe.
Sure. Yeah. Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Gold or Thunder.
Man, that's cool. So this is Eliana.
Yeah.
that film project. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's so when you read the comic book, chapter 3 is kind of our it's our post-apocalyptic chapter. So you meet some of our future characters. There's some time travel elements. So you'll meet some of our future characters, and there's a character that's mentioned and a mission that's alluded to a few times in that chapter. And so I was thinking that, well, it'd be really cool to actually do a side story and tell that that mission that we had mentioned. So Ileana is a character that's on this side mission in the future. She's trying to basically recover a MacGuffin, and there's some fun, sassy robots and time mind games and stuff. But it's essentially, I was inspired by like some Twilight Zone episodes that made me think that would be a fun approach to do with the Tomorrow Makers.
Oh, that's cool. The going to like Tomorrow Makers Volume 1. What was the initial story concept behind it?
Yeah, it's the simplest way I would put it is Lord of the Flies meets the X-Men. It's
okay.
I was inspired by the kids more than anything else. Commerce City is kind of like our own mini version of Flint, Michigan. It's this really small, kind of forgotten town, hard working class families. Yeah. They're used to poisoned water. It's not uncommon for kids to wake up and see snow on their cars, which is really like a chemical compound from air pollution. So
right.
Yeah. So it's like that's the story. And when you combine that with some sci-fi elements and I think working with kids, you get an idea of the level of trauma that exists in the building. So I thought it would be unique to incorporate some of those elements too. Mm-hmm. And so I think what makes our story unique is that, the kids wake up one day and all of the adults are missing. So everyone is an orphan, and everyone at the same time is dealing with this trauma while trying to figure out how they're going to live as a society without killing each other or starving to death. So that's the world that the Tomorrow Makers exist in. And Volume 1 kind of establishes that and tells the first arc of that story. Wow,
that's man, that's pretty ambitious and really cool at the same time. I mean, so with the production process, do you bring the kids in and like, okay, this is step 1, step 2, step 3, and just really immerse them in it and kind of show them the ropes? Or is it a little bit also like kind of baptism by fire, just like, okay, jump in, don't look?
Right. In my mind, it's the first one, but if I'm being objective, it's definitely a baptism by fire. I think if you had the kids here and you ask them about their first day filming, every single first filming experience is some sort of disaster that we managed to like overcome miraculously. One of the girls in the 5, she plays one of our main villains named Amaya. Mm-hmm. I kind of had a feeling that we would be using her as a character, so I would kind of like have a read on the character and study, and she was just behind the scenes before she got a role. And I had a feeling that the girl that was originally playing her was going to kind of back out. And so this huge shooting day comes, and it's Amaya walking in the middle of a city street with 100 kids behind her as like this mind controlled child army. That ended up being her first day of filming. So yeah. And she did amazing. Like, she killed it, but you would have never thought that this was all right. Day 1, you're gonna lead a charge in the streets, and these kids will follow you, destroy everything.
Oh man, that's
definitely trial by fire. But we definitely communicate a lot between those moments so everyone's kind of on the same page in terms of like what we're trying to do. Here's another crazy idea that I have. How can we make this happen? So that helps. That definitely helps to keep everybody's excitement up, so we can kind of weather those problems together, because we're all like really about it.
Yeah, and I imagine too, like a lot of indie filmmaking projects, everybody's wearing multiple hats. So one day
Totally.
somebody's a gaffer, the next day they're operating the camera, the next day they're in front of the camera, the next day they're editing. Man, that's got to be awesome and really exciting too. I mean, because
it's an amazing skill set for them to end up without, once they get through high school, they'll have more skills than people that go to college for stuff like that, which is, I mean, it gives them the ability to do anything they want. So that's pretty cool to see where that's going to go.
That's awesome. So like, some of your core group that I'm sure they're probably in college by now. Do you still keep in touch? Are they still, doing stuff like this?
Our oldest is a junior in high school, so he's and he's still in the group. So it'll be, and he's super down. So it's gonna get to the point where I'm gonna just have to write him as an adult eventually, which is fun. So I like the idea of eventually being able to pass the baton to them too, when they're older and see what they do with it.
Nice.
See what So yeah, it's cool to see that level of commitment, because I know that at that age and with the pressures that they face, and the both with family and socially, it's the fact that we have so many that are this committed it's pretty exciting.
That's cool. I imagine too, like with planning and timing out productions. And I think you kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier. If you can't like shoot a whole feature film in a consecutive amount of time, suddenly those kids are starting to age up and everything.
Yeah, I mean, if I had the kids back from that original film, with the time I needed to film it would be even weirder unfinished, because they'd be feet different. It's insane how fast they grow. I met with Saida. She plays Luna. She's our oldest, one of the original members. I met with her and her mom last week, and I had seen them maybe a few months before that. And every time I just need like a couple minutes to process how much she's grown. Yeah, take it.
That's hilarious. Or you can always write in the script like in the movie Boyhood, where they shoot and stuff, and you see that gradual development as a person and everything. And I think you guys are also working, excuse me, on a video game too. I think this is some of the art.
Yeah, that's a sprite for Luna's astroplane costume.
Nice. But what's behind this project? This is an extension of the film universe?
Yeah, it's a pretty close translation of our volume 1 story. So there's about 8 chapters in the arc, so the game follows that pretty close. Think I guess like Pokemon or Earthbound, that those are kind of the inspirations as far as gameplay. And the project just kind of came from I want to say a few months ago. The pandemic just seemed like it wasn't going to end anytime soon, so I thought it would be another way for me to keep some of the kids engaged between then and filming. So we have a really talented group of our I call them our art department kids, with they have iPads and just amazing talent. Like the growth in a year, it's bananas. So it's been pretty cool to teach them a whole new medium where we're sending pixel characters back and forth. They're doing backgrounds. We're gonna do some voice acting, and so it's just kind of another thing to keep us, I guess, creatively engaged between now and filming. And so we're looking at maybe September, fall for a release for the game.
No kidding.
Yeah,
that's coming up pretty quick.
Yeah, it's I think we're getting through probably the hardest part right away, which is all the character sprites. We got 30 plus characters, and for each character there's maybe 70 to 80 sprites each. So those take a lot of work, but we're getting through those.
My
gosh, it's gonna be cool to see what they do.
that yeah. So yeah, you guys have so many projects. So you got the video game. You
Mm-hmm.
put out Tomorrow Makers Volume 1, and then you're working on Eliana, uh, and then you're also working on Volume 2, the second
Volume two.
film.
Yeah.
Where are you at with that, and how does that continue the story?
It's a pretty cool the main, I guess, pitch for the movie is it's like, what if we did like a martial arts adventure film with these kids, and kind of lean into the more fantastical elements of what some of these kids would be doing left to their own devices, so we're gonna, I'm just by chance, it's just a serendipity. I was getting a tire changed or repaired, and I noticed the guy next to me had a really cool Bruce Lee logo hat, because I window shop on the store. I just can't bring myself to buy that yellow jumpsuit yet. So I recognize the logo. And so we started talking about Bruce Lee, and I'm talking about Tomorrow Makers. And it
Nice.
turned out that he trained under one of Bruce Lee's proteges. And
Cool.
he's a sixth grade teacher. He taught social studies like I did. And he volunteers and teaches youth. So after talking and communicating for a while, he's going to choreograph the fighting in Volume 2. So we're going to really lean into the action element of it, and go as hard as we can. And the story definitely continues the journey of these kids we meet in Volume 1, deals with some of the trauma aspects, and kind of sets the groundwork for some bigger things that we'd like to do later on. So we're looking at filming in the summer. As long as we've been around, we, for some reason or one reason or another, we never really have the chance to film in the summer, which is the ideal time. There's no school, it's nice out. We're either doing pre-production, or there's a pandemic, or one reason or another. But this time it looks like the stars are aligning for us to finally have the summer to film. So I think we can probably knock it out over the course of 2 or 3 months.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah. You sent over a trailer too for, I think it was is it Tomorrow Makers Volume 1? Is that
that's the trailer for Chapter 1 of Tomorrow Makers Volume 1. So each of the 8 chapters will have its own little trailers. We get ready to release them.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Can you set this one up for us?
Yeah. So this trailer is narrated by Luna, who's our main character of Tomorrow Makers Volume 1, and she kind of sets up the world, the initial struggles that the kids wake up to, and the uncertainty of what things will be like moving forward. And that's basically what our first issue covers.
Okay, cool. Well, let me turn off the banners here real quick, and then we'll get this guy playing.
I'm excited with more on our first issue.
Thanks, Alan. So we have a brand new trailer for our first issue, so check it out.
Mom, I'm going to be late. Let's go.
Hi, my name is Luna, and this is my home. I live in a small town in Colorado called Derby City. It's not the most exciting place to be, but it's home. Nothing too crazy happens here. That's my old elementary school. That's where I used to get snacks after school, and that's the place that's been poisoning our water and air since before I was born. But like I said, life was pretty normal. There weren't too many surprises. At least, there weren't until day 0. That's the day where everything changed. That's the day all the kids in Derby City woke to find out that all the adults were gone. I was arguing with my mom before bed, thinking I'd have the next day to fix it. I was wrong. I woke up as an orphan. We all did. Tomorrow Makers Chapter 1 tells the story of how we all dealt with this and how we started to rebuild our lives.
Oh, that's cool.
Thanks.
So is the comic book out available yet?
It's close to coming out. We have 3 issues that are in the can, and once 4 is done, we're going to be able to keep up a monthly schedule to get all 8 out on time.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
impressive. That is a tough feat to do. You know,
yeah, harder than I thought.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I've self-published a few comic books. And, yeah. So yeah, film is a much bigger thing, but comics, yeah, that can be a tough one too. So hats off to you for that. That's pretty impressive. So yeah, you've got your fingers in all these amazing multimedia projects. Really, bringing these kids together. It's you're creating an amazing community of talent. Yeah, I'd imagine like at school there probably wasn't like a film club or anything like that. So is this a pretty unique thing even now with so much accessible media going on? Are you going to other schools and like saying, hey, this is what I'm doing, if you want to come join in or anything like that?
Yeah, that's something we're still working out. I'd love to do more workshops. I think that's a little bit less of a commitment than having different Tomorrow Maker branches at schools. And just kind of, expand our not necessarily our fan base, but our presence, and expose more people to our work. And even if through these workshops, I think there's a real opportunity to just empower kids and get them to see, like, with the minimal amount of tools, you can do something like this yourself. And maybe they can start their own thing or convince their school to provide something for them, or inspire the schools to provide, these opportunities for kids in other places.
Nice. So do you have like you mentioned a workshop. Do you already have that like set up and in place? And have you executed a few of those?
Well, we've not necessarily. I came up with a pretty radical idea a few months ago. I thought it would, one of the things that we've always struggled with is having a physical base. We're as this kind of rogue organization, we were limited to whatever classroom I was long-term subbing in. I would take long-term jobs, so we'd have a space during the duration of those subbing jobs, 3 or 4 months. The Adams City Middle School has been really welcoming to us, and we've got away with as much as we could over there in terms of having a place to meet and film. But it's still, we never really kind of had our own home. I've opened my doors too, but at the end of the day, it's not really accommodating to what we're trying to do. So my radical plan was, I bought a motorhome, and we're converting it to the Coachman. We're converting it to a mobile film studio. That's our before picture. A mobile film studio that doubles as a classroom, recording studio. And there'll be a extension where we can, set up tables and do things outside as well. So the plan is, in addition to using it for our own meetings, events, and work, we can do things in different neighborhoods or schools, do different workshops on some stuff that kids would not necessarily be able to do, like pixel art, some comic book workshops. We've worked with Bad Hand a couple times, so I think they would be cool people to partner with, and groups like that, and do some comic book workshops, some simple film projects, and just go into neighborhoods and different schools where the opportunities don't exist, and present that to people. So that's kind of my way to deliver that moving forward.
That I think that's fantastic, especially the process of like, you've got film, but media as kind of exists in so many different platforms and formats. So everything from comics to to video games, which is the number one medium, right?
Yeah.
And then film, which is just as comprehensive. But I think the other thing too is the really neat thing that you're doing is these group activities where people really need to learn how to work with other people and to accomplish that joint goal.
Yeah.
And man, that's I think that's a huge life affirming tool to have.
Definitely.
Yeah,
especially with acting, because you can't spread the blame to anyone else. Like if I'm in a scene with somebody and it's just us, and they don't deliver or put their all into it, there's no one else to blame. And you both have to be committed and in this moment, or else it doesn't work. So I think when the stakes are that high,
right.
it kind of forces people to get past their own hangups and whatever hangups they might have with each other. And I've seen some really cool things come from that. So that's one thing that will give them a leg up as they become adults. They will have already figured out how to work with people, and when it comes to something big and complex like that.
Nice. Yeah. How does this change your role too? Like initially you went into this as teacher and maybe mentor, but being on a production and working with anybody on a regular basis. I mean, you're den mother, you're psychiatrist, you're
right.
accountant, you're
yeah.
It's like, how is it doing that with kids?
It's very fulfilling. And one thing I didn't expect was that it would be a constant source of creative energy. Like it renews itself. When I compare it to my music stuff, I could make an album, I can work with an artist, and after the song is done, it's on me. And the artist has done their job, and then it's on me to keep it going and push it and figure out what to do with it. But with the Tomorrow Makers, it's different because the kids are connected to their characters, and so there's this kind of never-ending connection. Like it's never completely turned off. And so as I'm doing stuff that involves them or their characters or characters they care about, we're all kind of building this energy that sustains itself. So that's been really nice. I think that's what I attribute my creative stamina to, is this, these people that just keep it going. And it's been really nice. It's been amazing to have that kind of a source to connect to.
That's cool. Now with so many projects going forth, and I think you mentioned too that Tomorrow Makers is set up as a nonprofit and everything. How can people support you?
Yeah, we on our website, I think the best thing people can do to support us is just buying our merch. We have different hoodies, sweatshirts, tanks, caps, cool. And that's been really helpful. I think people when the Bernie chair meme thing was a thing, we kind of got our artists together and we rushed on that. It was like, we got to make a Tomorrow Makers Bernie meme hoodie. So we got that. People seem to like those. We're going to do some pixel art ones from our game soon. So I think just supporting us that way, we're going to have comic books out, our film stuff. And I tell the kids whenever they get a chance, support artists anyway. Like if it's a like, if it's sharing their work, if it's buying a comic that you may not know too much about, it does amazing things for an artist. Like it's you can't really describe what it could mean to an artist that's on the ropes. And as somebody, these kids know what it's like to put their heart into something. So to be able to validate someone else, I think it kind of creates a loop, and so we just always encourage people to support their artistic friends or artists they they see putting their heart into their work. So
Oh,
that's a great way to support us and everybody else.
that's cool. Yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, you mentioned the comic books are coming out soon. Video game will be out in the fall. It is I think was it Tomorrow Makers Volume 1? That's not out yet, is it? Can people go?
No, we had enough done to where we actually had a trailer for the film. We had some complete scenes. So I think what we're gonna do is, once all 8 issues of the comic are out and we get ready to put the trade together, we'll take some time and go through the footage and figure out what we can salvage and connect that to the graphic novel as some sort of like bonus content. So and then by the time that's out, we'll already be deep enough into volume 2 to where you'll see where that's going to.
Okay.
I hope. Cool. Yeah.
So in that essence, it's no longer going to be just a feature film, or it's going to be a feature film in addition to comic books. I guess.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So volume 1 exists primarily as it's a comic with some film snippets, and then volume 2 will be a straight up film, and there might be some like comic book supplemental chapters or something that'll go along with it.
And then you've got the short film too that you're working on, and how's it, that's the most recent, right?
Yeah, I'm so excited to do that. I think I was going pretty hard on the costumes in the fall, thinking things would be better and we'd be able to film. We missed a film fest that we were supposed to be a part of because we weren't able to produce anything, but it's looking like once the costumes are ready, we're ready to go. So that's all that's really keeping us. So hopefully by the end of April, we'll finally be able to start rolling on that. And we're going to try and shoot that in Pueblo. It's just built for stuff like that. There's a lot of like little post-apocalyptic areas that you don't need to do anything to dress it, so, and you can get away with a lot more there than in Denver.
Yeah, there's all these little. I think that's one of the beautiful things. It's also one of the tragic things too in Colorado is, these old industrial areas where jobs have come and gone. Sometimes they're still there, or people have redeveloped, or and unfortunately too, the gentrification of some of these areas can be really tragic. And a lot of displacement for people, but some of these backdrops can be, that post-apocalyptic, that open plains, the almost desert type areas.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just like, kind of disheveled, browbeaten, kind of areas that can be amazing backdrops in and of themselves, have wonderful stories, whether you know it or not.
Sure.
Of course, you look at some of these areas, and it's like, yep, something died here. Let's move on.
Right. Definitely a story there. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think with Colorado in and of itself too, it's such a, with all these different backdrops and terrains and opportunities for storytelling. I mean, we have practically, except for tropical. I've yet to find the tropical.
Just here, yeah.
True. We'll come over to your apartment. Right. I hear there's opportunities here. But there's so many different climates and backdrops that that can be utilized in Colorado. Obviously. For people outside of Colorado, the tax incentives aren't here necessarily, but still, if you're in Colorado, you can just make it happen. Just do it. Just design a project that you have the resources to execute, whether you got the money or not.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be a factor of money. It just
you can fill in those details later. Like I think the passion of the project will help the universe, and you figure that out.
Yeah.
Gosh, and I have this dream. We have this dream to do a big climatic battle in the sand dunes, and so we've already kind of wrote where, what it's going to take to get there. And I think that it's closer and closer, but yeah, eventually that's the thing that I want to be able to do in Colorado, is take advantage of that awesome space. Like you wouldn't think it was from Colorado if you didn't live here.
Right. Yeah, there's all kinds of little areas. There's some volcanic areas too. Obviously, any place that they have a hot springs, there's that type of activity. But I think even on the way of Trinidad, there's a giant volcanic mound, and of course, you got a bunch of rattlesnakes hanging out there because it's nice and toasty.
Yeah.
Not to say that you need to go film there, but it's just like, oh, that's weird. It's like a little mini Devil's Tower, one that you can climb with an extension ladder.
Right. Many cool places.
But yeah, man, that's cool. So Marcos, I applaud you, for all the work that you're doing the community outreach, working with kids, and doing these amazing group activities. I think today's youth, anybody of any age group really needs more stuff like this to really keep them engaged. And because this is how communities and this is how cultures, get developed, over the creative dialogues.
Definitely.
Man,
crucial. Yeah,
very much so. Outside of this, is there a project that you're looking to tackle or execute, or is it all Tomorrow Makers?
There's a couple dream projects that are not necessarily connected. Like I'd like to be the Windows closing though. I dreamed of working on the MCU X-Men reboot in any way. Like I would bring them coffee. I would do anything just to be a part of that. So that eventually, that's more of a long-term thing. I decided yesterday that I'm going to start. I'm really into plants, as you can probably tell from just looking behind me. But I decided that I'm going to start growing my own house plants as opposed to vegetables, and seeing where that goes. So always experimenting with another side project somewhere. Nice. So it's just fun to see where those go without too much pressure. Nice.
Well, that's cool. Marcos, thanks for coming on the show and chatting it up with me. It's always very cool to hear what all these amazing people, and yourself, you are one of those, making the world and the universe a much better, more loving and interesting place too. So
thank you.
So yeah, I appreciate you coming on and chatting with us. And for all those out there, Tomorrow Makers Studios.
Tomorrow Maker Studios. Yeah.
Go to tomorrowmakersstudios.com and support Marcos and these wonderful kids, all their endeavors. Support art, support your local artists. Definitely go check them out. They're doing amazing things. God, I can't wait to have you guys on the show. Hopefully some of the kids will come on.
Yeah. Oh, they love it. Totally.
And we can talk more about the projects as they're starting to roll out towards the end of the year.
Cool. Thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
Cool. Thanks again, Marcos. And for everybody out there, thanks for tuning in and supporting us. And today's episode is brought to you by Mutiny Cafe. If you're gonna start a revolution, make sure you're heavily caffeinated.
Yes.
Gosh darn it. All right. Everybody out there, thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to help each other, look out for each other, especially during these tough times. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks again, Marcos.
Yeah.
Make sure to hang out for just a minute. But to everybody out there, have a wonderful day. We'll see you.